Time to pull up a chair. We've got another great story today for you in the rLounge. We all have different coping strategies, but taking a trip to Paris while your father is dying in a hospital might not be the best one out there. Today on rLounge, was it really fun while it lasted? We hope this daughter enjoyed the croissants. Friend borrowed money for her father's treatment and went for a trip, got exposed, and disowned by the family. Money was my friend Sarah's top priority, and she chose everything over it, including our friendship and her family. I am 34 female and work as a junior journalist. It doesn't pay much, but I also have a cupcake business, so it helps to put me back on my feet financially. Sarah, 34 female, and I have known each other since forever. We were the girls who instantly clicked during high school. We were both new during the school year, so our friendship blossomed at that time. We thought it would be Hazel and Sarah against the world. Real life came. It was time for college, and we both had different paths to go into. I wanted to be a journalist and, well, Sarah wasn't sure what she wanted. She was unsure of the kind of career that would fit her. One day, she wanted to be a fashion designer and, the next day, a nurse. I didn't blame her. Nobody truly knew what they wanted to venture in. I cannot count how many times I had second-guessed my career when things went a little bit hard, but Sarah didn't try to know which would fit her or tried to be practical. All she wanted was to travel. She wanted to go around the world, buy things in different countries, and post on her social media. It was cute when she gushed about it in high school, but she had to be practical to see what career would get her to that point. Honestly, I think she just wanted to be a debutante. I moved to New York for college, and she stayed back in Atlanta. We lost contact, or rather, I'll say life happened, and we couldn't communicate that much. Hours on the phone call turned into short messages on iMessage. Suddenly, we didn't talk in detail about everything going on in our lives. Friendships evolve, and one thing I learned in my years is that there is a possibility of friendship breakup. Sometimes, nothing may happen. You two may just figure out that you have outgrown each other. That was the case for Sarah and I. One day at the office, I got a message from Sarah. It was on Facebook. She had mentioned that she was in New York and wanted to catch up. I was ecstatic because I had missed her. We met up at an old coffee shop downtown. She hadn't changed much. She still had her dark bob hair and short stature. It didn't seem like the years had been kind to her. Sarah told me of her family problems, which terrified me. Sarah's father was sick with lung cancer. I was sad. Sarah's father was such an amazing man. He used to pick us up from school and take us for ice cream. He used to tell us to be mindful of the tricks that boys usually pulled. He was a good father to Sarah and her older brother. I secretly wished I had a father like hers, and he did not make me feel out of place in the home. He knew I missed my dad, who died when I was 5. Sarah broke down, crying about her father. She believed the cancer would kill him and further said that her family had no funds to cover the treatment anymore. She briefly spoke about her employment history and how she was fired from an advertising agency. I didn't even know she was into advertising. Then again, I had missed over 10 years of her life. Sarah cried that her mother couldn't work because she had to take care of her father. I recalled that they had a family restaurant business. Sarah told me that the business had flopped because there was not much patronage. Her family had moved from Atlanta to New York to find more opportunities for earnings. She asked me if I could lend her some money. When she asked for the specific amount of $3,000, I nearly spat my coffee on her face. Whoa. I was always skeptical about loans because I felt the person may not pay back. Sarah started pleading, promising that she would pay me back. I couldn't sit there and not do anything. Sarah's father was good to me in my childhood. But it was a lot of money. I didn't have that kind of money laying around. I did have a savings account that I was dedicated to putting a fraction of my salary into every month and also money from my side hustle. It amounted to about $6,000. To convince me further, she mentioned that she had a job interview with a salesperson, and it was promising. Even though she hadn't gotten the job, she was sure that she would have it in no time. Sarah's father needed it to be well, so I had to do something. I agreed to give her the money and did the bank transfer. She was happy that her father would finally have the funds for the treatment. I was intent on growing our friendship and occasionally messaged her about her work, life, and love life. She would not respond to me on time, but it's adulthood, so I didn't mind. Some people don't respond on time because of work, or maybe they are going through something. I figured it was the latter for her because of her father's health problems. I called and asked her about her father's health. I was hoping to reach out to him to try and help out in any way that I could. I couldn't find their contact or social media handles and was hoping that she could give it to me. Sarah told me that her father is still in the hospital, and she hasn't gotten any word on the promising job. She asked for us to meet again. She cried that she may not be able to repay me at the scheduled time that she promised because things were tough at home. On one hand, I was terrified that I wouldn't get my money back. On another, I felt bad for Sarah. I knew how it felt to be in a difficult place financially. After my dad's death, my mom used to work 4 jobs to keep things running in the home. I told her to take her time and to repay me whenever she could. Work got extremely busy for me during that period. I was in the office, busted my behind for a promotion, and when I got home, I was working on my cupcake business. It skipped my mind for a while until one day I checked through my savings and remembered. I had sent messages to Sarah, reminding her about the money. On day 1, there was no answer. On day 2, there was no answer either. Weeks passed and nothing. I was beginning to think that something bad had happened to her. I knew that they were living downtown near the coffee shop where we met, but I didn't know which apartment she stayed in New York. I was clueless. I was hoping that she would respond to my messages soon. A week later, I had a cupcake order for a bridal shower. I had stayed up all night baking. I drove down to the city to deliver the cupcakes myself. You wouldn't believe who I saw in this small gathering. It was Sarah. She wasn't in her basic clothes. She had long blonde hair, beautifully manicured nails, and a to-die-for expensive dress. She looked like she was dipped in gold. This Sarah did not look like someone who had money problems. I hid behind my car and made a call through her cell phone, and she declined it. The nerve of this girl. That girl had been declining my calls and had probably seen all my messages, but how was she here and not by her father's side? When the owner of the house came to me, wanting to pay, I decided to stealthily ask for more information about her. She was the sister of the bride. I subtly asked if the blonde one was the bride, and she mentioned that it was Sarah. Not to sound spooky, I told her that she resembled one of my long-lost friends from Atlanta, hence, I was just checking. The bride's sister went on to say that Sarah wasn't from Atlanta, she was from New York itself, and they had met her in Paris 2 months ago. The bride and her sister were on a family trip where they had met Sarah, who was having a solo trip. Paris? Paris? Paris is a city of love, but it is also freaking expensive. No one could just go to Paris. I tried hard to keep my expression on the low and inquired more, but subtly. I was like, oh, Paris. I'm sure she has a lot of money. The woman responded that Sarah loved to travel and had been to 3 countries in 1 month. My Sarah? The Sarah who had her sick dad in the hospital? She had been to 3 countries in a month? I was upset. The woman paid my money and left to join the party. I stayed back in my car, battling what to do. I knew I had to confront her, but how? I couldn't do it in front of her bougie friends. I had to be strategic about it. I waited in my car, hoping for her to come out of the house. When she did, I went full-on confrontational. Sarah was surprised to see me and tried to downplay the fact that she had been ignoring me. I didn't run around in circles. I inquired about the Paris thing and the whole trip. She couldn't lie. It was written all over her face. If she had all that money, she couldn't have just paid me back? Sarah told me that she didn't have a job. I figured maybe she had a man bankrolling her, and she told me that was not so. Then I figured the money I had lent her was used for the travels. When I verbalized my thoughts, she didn't admit or deny them, but her face read guilt. She had used the money for her selfish gains. I asked her if her father was even sick in the first place, and she told me that he was still lying in Central Hospital, fighting for his life. I wondered why she would use the money for personal gain and not give it to her father, who desperately needs it. Then I remembered that Sarah's dream was always to travel. She wanted to see the world. So, she used my money to fulfill her travel dreams. I told her that she would have to repay me the money this month. She didn't say anything. She just ignored me and walked back into the bridal shower. God, I was fuming with anger. I wasn't going to stop there. I messaged Sarah about my money, and she refused to respond to me. Weeks passed and no response. I was beginning to get upset. I was livid. I thought about her family. Did she even give part of the money to her father's treatment? The next morning, I decided to deal with her. I remembered that she told me that they lived somewhere downtown near the coffee shop, so I went on a little trip to search for them. I stopped at the first house in the neighborhood and asked for the last name. I was directed to an old brown house. I know it's extreme, but I needed to know the truth. Was Sarah's dad truly sick or not? I knocked on the door, and her mother had answered. Sarah's mother looked so different. She had lost the light in her eccentric blue eyes. She had lost so much weight. She looked like she had been suffering. She briefly recognized me and asked me to come in. You wouldn't believe what had happened. Sarah's mother mentioned that things had been tight in the house since her husband's health had took a turn. The family barely had money to get him chemo. I asked if Sarah had given them any money, and she said that the family hadn't seen Sarah for a long while, since 3 months ago. Seeing Sarah's mother so frail and tired made me angrier. Sarah let her mom deal with this while she traveled the world? Worse, she lied to me that she needed the money for her father. Instead, it was to go on silly vacation trips. I wasn't going to say anything yet to her mother, but I was pushed to. Sarah's mother wanted to go to the hospital, and her car was out of gas. So I decided to drive her there. Getting to the hospital, my heart further broke for the family. Sarah's dad was so sick. I expected him to look bad, but he looked worse. He had various machines connected to him. He could barely open his eyes. That's when I decided that I had to tell the truth. After all, I'm a journalist. Tearfully, I broke the news to them about the money I lent to Sarah for the treatment, and also the fact that she used the money for her expensive trips around the world. Her mother couldn't believe it, so I showed her proof of my conversation with Sarah. Her father could barely say anything, and her mother was in tears, wondering why Sarah couldn't help the family. When Sarah's older brother came, the news was also told to him. He didn't take it easy. He was furious. He had been working tedious jobs to keep the family together while Sarah was busy on trips. I figured my work had been done. Although I had exposed Sarah, I still had mixed emotions. 1, I wondered how I would get my money back from her, and 2, I felt bad for the family in this difficult time. The family should stay together, but it seems as though I had caused a big problem. Sarah decided to do her form of confrontation. She barged into my office in her basic clothes. I wonder where the whole gold and diamonds had gone to. She mentioned that she had just came from the hospital and her mother had told her everything about my visit. She cried that her family wanted nothing to do with her. That was all because of what I had told the family about her. Sarah did this to herself. She had the wrong priorities. Instead of helping her family during the tough times, she was taking trips around the world. What kind of daughter does that? Sarah cried that her mother asked her to not come close to the house or her father because she was toxic. I believed that Sarah's mother had said that in the heat of the moment, but it was real. She wanted nothing to do with Sarah. Sarah told me that she wanted to experience being rich for a little while. She complained that all her life she had not moved from America and needed to be free. She thought that by the time she was back from her vacation, her father would have been healed. Without drugs and treatment? Really, Sarah? Sarah was beginning to feel the effect of her actions with her money had run out, and she had no family to run to. Worse, her father was getting worse, and she feared that he could die at any moment. Now Sarah is crying that she wants to be let back into the family and spend the little time that she has left with her father. Now she wants me to help her out. In what way can I even help her? And why should I? Honestly, you already did enough, OP. If you truly want to help again, you should give the money directly to the mother and find some way to bypass the family completely and pay for things anonymously. I'm sorry Sarah took advantage of your kind and generous heart. She made her choices and now she has to learn from them. Obviously, her priorities are elsewhere, and if her father passes because she denied him the help that she was able to provide because she had swindled you, that's on her. That's something she'll have to live with. Update 1. Hello guys. Hope you've all been well. Oh wow, I didn't even know it has been so long until today. I'm so sorry for not reaching out. Life and work have been hard. Elections are coming up, so journalists are doing a lot more this time around. Well, about Sarah. Wow, you guys have a lot of emotions and opinions about my problem, and I see some people have experienced what I'm going through. You cannot believe what has been happening with Sarah and her family. Right after Sarah came to beg me, I told her that I didn't want anything to do with her. I only wanted my money back. I told her that she shouldn't message me because she was narcissistic and didn't care about anyone but herself. I figured I was too harsh on her, but she deserved it, guys. She took my money to travel. I also want to travel the world. Last I heard from her brother, Sarah's dad had fallen into a coma and things were not looking good. The doctors had said that he could pass on at any moment. As you can tell, this would make the family hate Sarah's guts that much more. They believed that if she had the means to make her father better and had put the money to good use, he would have been better and out of the hospital. But her priorities were different. I know I probably shouldn't have, but I gave Sarah's mother a small amount of money to help with the treatment and management around the house. This was what I intended to do earlier before the whole Sarah's selfish problem. Just yesterday, Sarah had reached out to me, demanding money and support. She had tried to manipulate me, saying that she didn't have her family's support because of what I did, that I was the reason for her family's problem. Hello? She caused it all with her selfishness. She told me that I was the one who messed up her life, and the least I could do was give her some money to start a business or to get on her feet. I owe this woman nothing. Nothing. Why would I give her money when she still freaking owes me thousands of dollars? Why do people never change? And why does she love money so dang much? Definitely sounds like she's coping in the worst of ways. She's making her father's illness all about her. Update 2. Hey guys, adulthood is a scam. I wish I could have stayed a baby for a while because working and paying bills is a lot for me. I guess this is just my way of apologizing for leaving you guys, especially when you all have been so good and helpful towards me. I'm so exhausted when I come to you with this update. So many things have happened. First, Sarah's manipulation was constant. She kept sending me messages that I was the cause of the problems. God, I am tired of that girl. The only message I need from her is that she has my money. Then I can block her and never hear from her again. Secondly, Sarah's father died. He passed away 2 weeks ago. His wife was beside him when he took his last breath. Sarah's mother had called me to let me know that he passed in his sleep. I took the news hard because Sarah's father was good to me and he could have been better if Sarah hadn't used all the money for his treatment to travel around the world. As much as I hated Sarah's guts, I knew it must hurt to be fatherless. I had also gone through that. I figured that she must have taken the news of his death really hard. I went to the funeral. Sarah was also there, but not close to the family. Sarah could have prevented her father's death and could have spent more time with him if she wasn't so focused on money all the time. After the burial, Sarah wanted to follow her mother home to try and help out anywhere she could. It almost turned into a ruckus. Her older brother refused to let her close to their mother and told her to keep her distance from the house for a while. They still felt a great deal of betrayal and couldn't live past what Sarah had done. Can you believe that Sarah tried to attack me? She pointed fingers at me and was like, "You caused this." If not for Sarah's brother, she would have turned this gathering into a mini boxing match. I love the fact that her family left her there, crying and all alone. If she wanted to be selfish, she might as well be alone. Eventually, one day, her family may move past what has happened and maybe would want to bury the hatchet. But that would take a long time. Death is very hard to get over, especially with Sarah's father, who was Sarah's mother's best friend and longtime partner. Sarah had caused her problem. I'm not saying that her zest for traveling is not important, but her family is important, especially a family like hers. Am I waiting for my money? Yes. But even though she never pays me, what she is going through makes me a bit glad. Thank you guys for the great help. It was really needed. Honestly, it's great to talk when things get hard. Please take care of yourself and be mindful of whom you loan money to. You may never get that money back, OP, but at least you had the purest of intentions, which is a lot more than Sarah can say. Losing a parent is hard, and like I said, she's going to have to live with the fact that things could have looked very different had she been a lot less selfish. Would you have lent the money? Why or why not? What do you make of Sarah's actions? Thank you for following along today on our lounge. Before you go, be sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell. If you have something you want to share regarding today's content, we want to hear it. See you soon.